Everyone, welcome back. Ryan, Andy, Betspirits Golf, here to talk Shriners Children's Open Championship. How we doing, buddy?
Good. Kind of coming down from last night's Monday night football, getting in, more heavily into the golf week now as it's Vegas. I don't know why I don't ever plan a trip. This would be a good one too,
This would be a good
where
one.
you could do NFL and college is going on, but you could take in like a Friday round out at Summerlin and then go watch football. Like this is maybe a trip I need to plan next year.
Yeah, maybe see the Vikings go to Vegas or something like that, or just if the Raiders in general are in town, you can head over to there and check out a game. Yeah,
someday.
Double dip.
I'm still such a person who just hates going to football games.
Same.
There's
made
fantasy,
for TV.
There's betting. It's just so much better on TV.
And Vegas is kind of actually, especially when you get used to the apps and domestics in legalized states, I know is not as prevalent for you. You have to make the treks down to Iowa and stuff. Like Vegas is kind of the nut low as it pertains to like sports betting live. Like you have to like download the specific apps and register in person. And it's just, I don't know, when you can sit on your couch with your hand in your pants and shop lines, it's a little bit different when you have to be in Vegas, which again, obviously poo-poo Vegas, but yeah, in comparison, it's kind of the nut low.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing too. Like I bet a bunch of tennis, I like betting random soccer that other people get, like all that stuff. It's not stuff you can walk up to the counter at the Win and bet these low limit or low level tennis, honestly low limit too, but low level tennis stuff. So
yeah,
it's funny. Like even when I'm in Vegas, a lot of times I'm just betting on my phone.
Yeah.
And not on the local apps. It is still on the offshore markets. But yeah, we're heading to Vegas, sort of. It's Summerlin. It's a little bit from the Strip, but it's still close enough for Tom Hoagie.
It's close enough for Tom Hoagie. We'll find his way to some table games. So, we're just outside. This has been a spot here at TPC Summerlin that they've been coming to for quite a while, since the early 90s. So we have a fairly good sample of a very straightforward TPC style layout where it's a short par 71 track that's right in front of you. There is not a lot of penalty, whether it's off the tee, whether it's undulating greens. These are fairly big, fairly flat. And again, as we typically see here in the swing season, we can classify some of these as birdie fests. Like you've got to get into the 20s here when you look at how this has played out historically, outside of the weird wonky year a handful of years ago with Cantley, where there was like, it's really cold, really windy. And that one got to like 9 under for him to win. This bad boy is getting into the low 20s. Sanjay 24 last year. I think even, the year before with, Marty Laird in the low 20s. So you got to score. You got to give yourself some shots here. The rough is not very penal. If you read Ron's preview over on betspiritsgolf.com, obviously like it would be in any spot. You want to be in the fairway. But if you miss the fairway here, green and regulation, birdie better weight from the fairway or from the rough is significantly higher than anywhere else on tour. So you've got to be able to make some birdies and run hot on the greens here. So, and a pretty good field in comparison to what we saw last week at Sanderson Farms. We have 12 of the top 50 in the world here as far as the world golf rankings go. A handful of President's Cup guys, Max Cantley, as we mentioned, Sanjay, Tom Kim from the international team, Cam Davis, a handful of those guys. So better field, better tournament.
Yeah, it is a little better field, obviously, with some of the big names. Some guys just wanted to take a week off. A lot of those guys played, especially like the entire international team is here, but a lot of those guys played a lot of holes at the President's Cup. It's a stressful tournament, I suppose. And there's some of the guys that, they had to play twice on the split day, and then you play that long singles match. All those singles matches went forever. There wasn't a ton that ended super early. There weren't any like real blowouts. So a lot of guys played a lot of golf, and we're I've fired on some outrights. I think maybe we'll start at the top of the board because I think the shortest number is yours. I haven't put mine in the Discord yet, so you don't even know what I bet.
I don't know what you have yet.
Mine got bet like I don't know, like an hour and a half ago. Okay. And I will say we don't have any crossover this week.
Okay. Yeah, last week we had a great crossover with Emiliano Grillo, and I didn't even really know that we had a sweat. I texted you because I was like, I didn't realize that Grillo was in the mix here on Sunday. And again, so football focused at this time of year, and then saw that he just absolutely went nuclear on like an auto birdie hole. Like it was 14 was playing significantly easier than almost everything else out there. And to hang an 8 on a par 5 and after sharing the lead was, full of Grillo. So we had a little taste of it and didn't even know it. So he's back in the field. He's longer this week. He is definitely someone I'm considering, and I'd be interested to see if you have a position there. But Cantley, Sanjay, Max, Aaron Wise at the top. Again, pretty decent, Tom Kim right there as well. Those are pretty good teardrop, no matter what book you're looking at. Those guys are, 25 and under basically. And then you jump into 30s for everyone else. I fired on Max here. 18 was a good number. It's actually, there's even a 20 now on MGM, which if you can get that, I think that's a good, nice little price. He just does everything that we want to do here. He could be long and accurate off the tee, fantastic approach game, and is a great putter. I mean, you think about guys in this field that are the elites, Cantley, Homa, from like a baseline putting standpoint, I think are better than everyone else. And Max is a guy that I like. And look, the current form is fantastic, right? He goes to Fortinet, coming off of a really hot finish to the end of the year, almost wins the 72-hole score at the Tour Championship, goes and defends at Fortinet, and then goes 4-0 at the President's Cup. Like, he's just playing really good golf. So 20 for Max is, again, when Cantley's at like 6 or 7, Sanjay at 9, like they do not have, double the win equity that Max does. So happy with Homa, 18, 20s that are still out there at BetMGM. So that's my first and shortest bet.
Yeah, he's quickly kind of putting himself in the stratosphere of like, hey, guess what? You're an elite golfer now. Mm-hmm. You're a guy who won multiple times on tour. You cleaned up at the President's Cup. And like, just, I don't know, like win equity is such a weird thing because it's not a quantitative measure, but
for sure
there is something to it. Like once a guy breaks through and starts, I think there's just like a mental block there where, we joke about like Kirk Cousins on primetime or, mm-hmm. Certain things that always seem to happen, or like certain teams versus other teams when the head coach can't seem to get it done, like McVay versus Shanahan last night. There are certain things that maybe have a little bit of signal to it, and getting a win, becoming like getting into this echelon of top golfers, it seems like there is something to that. So yeah, Homa is that guy now. Like he's him. He's him. Yep. As the people on the internet are saying. And 18 to what he should probably be closer to Cantley. So although I get it with Cantley, like just the form that he's had here. Like he's always played so well here. What are you gonna do?
He's never not top 10 here. So yeah, what does he get played here?
I think this was his maiden breaker, like 5-6 years ago or whenever.
17 he won.
A lot of people have. I feel like a lot of people get their first win here, which won't be Max Homa's first win, but fuck it, almost 20-1. Why not?
Yeah, Cantley a win, back-to-back top 2s, 8th in 2020. Didn't play here last year. And 2020 was weird because this was almost like the warm up to the November Masters. So we had a loaded field in 2020.
Oh yeah, that was a weird year. Never gonna forget that one. Was that the DJ one, or was that
was the DJ Masters?
Yeah, DJ won the fall one, and then it was Matsuyama after that. So
yeah. I do like the top of the board though too. I mean, I get Sanjay's form's terrific. You mentioned Cantley, like they're shorts, and then Wise. I would love to chase Wise here. I'm probably going to add it live. 22 is just feels a little too short. This is his home course. He plays here a lot, very familiar here, so that helps. And same thing with Tom Kim. Like I would love to get your thoughts on here. I don't know what you're short, but Tom Kim here. I know it feels like this dude just kind of came on the scene for us, and now he's 22. But there he is, Tom Kim, 25. It's a great 25 is a great number, Andy. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked, and like a lot of places have it down at 22 or whatever now, and that's, I mean, Hunt, because it wasn't like I found one outlier 25. There's a bunch, like 3 or 4 books when I shopped this morning had 25. Bookmaker was had the little extra change. I'm never not going to take the extra nickels and dimes on Tom Kim, but like it's just if you look at current form and you start taking out the long-term stuff because he just hasn't been on tour that long, it's like this guy is playing as good a golf as basically anybody in the field. He's playing better golf than the guys at the top. Like really, if you go complete high-end form, it's like Sung Jae Homa, Tom Kim, and I mean then the rest of the names are just kind of weird because of the makeup of this field. But he's absolutely right up there with everyone, and he's just there. Like he's quickly there. It's like all of these other guys we've had for the past few years. It seems like I don't know, the jump from either Europe or the Corn Ferry to like relevance immediately on tour is so much quicker nowadays. And it just, back in the day, it was like, well, Tiger did it. And then like, I don't know, Davis Duval, like there was, it was big gaps in between these new names that would come up and be good on tour. And it's just,
yeah.
I mean, even I remember he was on the presser thing for the 3M when I went up there. And I remember looking at him like, I don't know much about this guy. Dude, that was like July. I mean, it was October, and this guy is just an international star now. He's 25-1 in a fairly decent field, even the swing event. I make him like 20. I don't know. It's hard to fade against this guy at this point. I think he'll probably catch a little more steam in the market, and there's not a ton to say about him outside of just he's playing great golf. He's doing everything right. His driving distance and accuracy are both. I mean, distance is okay. Accuracy is really good. He looked great at the Wyndham. He looked great at the President's Cup. He can gain a shitload on approach. Everybody's going to hit these greens. I think his proximity is going to kind of take him in and guide that putter. He putted a little rough at a couple events. It is
the Wyndham.
Grass. Yeah, not at the Wyndham, and it is bent grass here. These are going to be easy to put on bent grass greens. So I like Tom Kim quite a bit. And 25-1, that's my first one on the board.
Yeah, I like it too. I'm seeing a 25 now actually on MGM too, which isn't a bad look. It might be something I do pre-tournament and then maybe see if I can get maybe a late tee time for Wise when that pops. And if I want to add him, I'll do it that way. But yeah, I mean, look, Kim is a fairway finder off the tee, and we've seen him go low like he lit up Wyndham. So if this gets into a putting contest, we've seen him get just absolutely white hot with the putter. So yeah, I don't mind it at all. So like I said, we don't have the long term to pull from, so it's easy. It's good to move off of priors. And I know sometimes golf, you're probably better off, dialing in as much long term form as possible and leaning on that. We just don't have it with this kid. What we've seen short term has been pretty fantastic. So outside of the top tier, and that's like I said, a pretty dramatic cutoff.
Yeah, there's a jump.
Yeah, we get into the next guys. There's really nothing even in the threes for the most part. Taylor Montgomery, who I don't know, Taylor Montgomery just rolls out of bed in T10s. I guess this is just what we're going to do all swing season until we get to the rest of the big boys. It's basically all he did on the Corn Ferry, and he's done it twice in a row at Fortinet and he last week at Sanderson Farms. Like, I don't know, 37s on him. There's at FanDuel, who was late to the party. They just posted this morning. I don't know. They weren't wanting to participate in this event.
The whole market was odd this week with I mean, it's not like, oh, it's the NFL now. No, we've had NFL for a month, guys. Like, get your shit together. It was a weird market.
Player props too. Like, just get in the pool, FanDuel. Let's go. Tom Hoagie, who we know he likes Las Vegas. We know he likes casinos. He's talked about this quite openly. Short now. He's dropped down. There is a 50 out there, but he's in the 30s and 40s. I like Tom Hoagie quite a bit here. When you think about how his game plays, he's an old man Tom Kim, right? Where he is kind of can be a little bit of a plotter, can find himself some fairways, and I got to think a 55 or a 60 on Hoagie. It's 40.
Yeah, I put 40 because that's where he's at. And I think I didn't bet him. It's still probably bettable, but yeah, you got a better number than this. You know what? I'm changing it. I'm changing it to 60. I'm putting your number up there.
Yeah, it's I'm looking now. DraftKings at 50 looks like the best in the domestic. Chris is out to like 50 and change, but like 37.
We'll put it on the screen as a 50.
We'll take it.
Tommy tables.
So the thoughts on Tommy Tables, because I made this bet before, and you and I talked, and I don't think you didn't know he was in the field at the time. You're like, well, as long as we don't bet Tom Hoge, and I'm like, well, son of a bitch, I already fired.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be fine. And you did point out, like, he's had pretty good form here.
Yeah, desert golf in general has kind of been his thing. This is again where distance isn't going to be a problem. We just allow him to, find fairways and greens proximity, because not a great putter. That was probably why I was a little bit reluctant to go. But then you look at some of, like you said, long-term approach stuff, Tom Hoge is going to pop for you. So anything in the middle here, it's pretty, like you said, it's condensed. There's a lot of guys in like the 40 to 50 range.
So I basically went all in on Tom Kim as far as like top of the board. And then the rest of my stuff is near long shot kind of status, I guess. Okay. It's closer to the bottom. I did take one in the middle. Like you said, longer number than last week. What am I going to do? Fault him for playing pretty well outside of one hole?
Yeah.
He's still top 5. Like his around the green suffered. A lot of it was on one hole. Part of it was on one hole. There was a few struggles around the green. I don't think that's going to be as big of an issue here. Not a lot of danger here. If the wind's down, this is another scoring one. Again, John Deere, 2nd. 3M, 2nd. Sanderson Farms, 5th. Like these scoreable events, he's going to play well. He putted well. His tee to green was elite. He top 5'd last week. And yes, the field's tougher, but still 50 to 1 pert near. Give me all the Grillo. So I will I'll add him. And yeah, from here on out, it is long shots after Grillo.
Interesting. Yeah, I like the Grillo play. I have no problem going back. Like he went awry. He didn't like melt under pressure per se. Like that, at least that's how I think of, a guy like that that's been around for a while. Like he just played really good golf, other than a hole that he needed to probably get a 4 on. He got an 8, and that'll kind of do you in when that board was going low and was pretty condensed at the top. There's a bunch of dudes in the mix, so you took yourself out of the mix. But like you said, he's been playing fantastic golf. 36 rounds, 50 rounds, even going back a little further than that. All the things that we kind of need to have happen here. I think he can find fairways. He's dialed in, gives himself a ton of birdie looks. Like, yeah, I had no problem there. In that same range, I went back to Cam Davis, who didn't have it at the Fortinet, but like he's been playing really good golf, and I think played terrific at the President's Cup. And my only concern here is, he's more of a distance play. We don't necessarily need that here. Like, hopefully he can find himself some fairways, and maybe he just gives himself, so many like little 3/4 wedges into these greens if he's hitting bombs like he did at the President's Cup, and then can run hot with the putter. So like Cam Davis here, again, approach game is great. It's really key from these close proximities, like 100 to 150. He's top 5 in this field in the last 50 rounds or so. So I think he's fantastic. So like Cam Davis in the middle there. But that's most of it for me. I've entertained some long shots, but I'd love to see if some of these guys that are on my list are guys that you considered.
Yeah, I guess they aren't super long shots, but I did play 3 longer numbers, mostly. And a lot of this was price shopping, because all of these guys can be bet at like 50 to 1 or worse. If you, okay. What's the opposite of shopping around? Like not just betting at the one book you have a money in.
Yeah.
And taking like a 45 to 1 when there's like a 66 out there. Like that's going to get you long. It's so hard. Like I bet 125 outrights last year and hit 5. And if you take like $10 worse on each one, where it's like a 50 to 1 instead of a 60 to 1, and that's just 10 more outrights. Like it's like betting 10 more losing outrights every single time.
It's true.
So really, really, and like I said, I lost 120 of them. So on those 5 winners, that's like 50 extra losers. So really, really shop around. Try to get what you can. Keith Mitchell, Killer Keith.
Love Killer Keith.
Yeah, I don't love betting him outright. It's something I almost didn't do, but he is he's got a bit of a bomber to him, and he can putt okay if we're on a bent grass surface like this. I didn't love his putting. Really, really drug him down at the BMW. We've seen that a couple times over the years, but it's been a while. Like he The last time he putted really poorly before that was the Shriners
Last year's really bad.
Just I guess the Wyndham wasn't a good performance for him, but he's a really high-end tee to green guy. We've seen that a couple times, especially like beginning of the year, right through the whatever you want to call it, the Hawaii, California section, the beginning of the actual calendar year.
Yeah,
he was pretty hot. So Keith Mitchell's a guy I'm going to play at a bigger number like this in this sort of field. Again, I don't consider him like bomber, but he's bomber-ish. Like he can hit the ball a while. So Keith Mitchell, and then another one. Again, this was like 50-1 at certain places, and if you hunt, Taylor Pendrith 67.50. That was something
great number.
I had to have in my pocket on Taylor Pendrith, the Canadian. Another one, like, give me Canadians on bent grass, I guess. This is by far his best putting surface. Putting is a bit of a bugaboo for him. Last time he gained putting was in Detroit, which is obviously bent grass up north. He was second at the Rocket Mortgage, just like I mentioned earlier. Give me a guy who can play well at one of these scoring birdie fests. He gained 13.5 total strokes at the Rocket Mortgage. Played well the week before it. That was like a nice stretch for him. Players, Barbasol, Rocket Mortgage. But just, another guy with a bigger one would. The driving accuracy for him is pretty low. I think that kind of drags numbers down, but it's another week where it doesn't matter. Just like last week, the birdie or better rates out of the rough are pretty high compared to the tour average. Just the scoring out of the rough, hitting your greens in regulation if you're not on the fairway, way higher than average. So you can spray a little here and not worry too much about it. This is, I don't know if, according to Ron's numbers, this is the highest altitude all year that they'll play at out of the place. I think there's one or two that come close. And then obviously if you go over to Europe, there's some wild courses that are higher up, but this is it's like 2,800 feet above. Like the ball flies a little here too. So give me some of these long guys if they can get their putting together on the bent grass. And then a guy who I know for a fact I have never bet outright before. In fact, I feel like this guy has come up on the opposite end of matchups in the past, and most of the time it's because of the tour that this person's played on, and I don't often end up betting these guys. I end up fading them. Is Dean Burmester.
Okay.
And this is another one too where it's like it's hard to gauge some of this because he doesn't play a lot on this side of the pond. Good performance at the Scottish Open. I watched a bunch of that. Good performance at the Open, and then played at Sanderson last week and putted his dick off. Like, my God, gained a shitload on those. Those are pure greens. I mean, but these are sometimes I think these are pure. Like, I love bent grass greens for guys who can get hot with the putter. If you're reading it well, they're just smooth and they roll nice. And he does hit the ball a country mile. His driving distance is way the bleep up. This is guys
bombs.
Yeah, he bombs. His approach game is up and down in the smallish sample I have of numbers that I care about. But I think just what I looked at, I think he can get it done from like 100 yards out. And he's going to have a ton of approach shots from like 100 to 125 because he is a bomber. Again, the proximity, I looked at proximity from like 1 to 150, kind of in that range. And I upweighted some of the guys that play well with their shorter irons because you're going to have a lot of opportunities to get close if you can keep it on the fairway and hit it 320, 340. Like there's going to have some long, another guy too, similar to Pendrith, where the accuracy numbers off the tee aren't great, but I don't know that it so much matters here if you're half decent with your short irons. And 73.50 got him at. So not like super bombs. I know there's a lot of people that have played some 1 to 200 to 1 kind of bombs here. I may do that. I don't love, that's such a crapshoot. Like if you're doing that, you got to take like 5-6 of them and, kind of center in on a thesis, I think. Like saying this is the kind of person that I think is going to play well this week in these conditions at this course and take a few long shots that kind of fall into that range. And I'm not there with some of these long shots.
You have a type though. I mean, I feel like the overlap in skill set from our Dean Burmester to Taylor Pendrith to Keith Mitchell are like
they're all. That's
they
kind
hang
of
out
why
at the same bar.
I grouped them together for a
Yeah.
reason. They're all the same kind of guy, just from different places.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, Keith Mitchell seems like a guy. Well, you should look at his finishing, but he is a form guy, and form is fickle, especially when we're looking for it to start. We haven't seen him. So again, he can come out hot and then go on a tear. He probably is a nice look too next week at the CJ Cup. So maybe he gets some where you really need distance. So maybe he gets hot here too. But yeah, Keith Mitchell's a guy that always kind of catches my eye. Are there any bombs like when we get into the triple digits and above that you've even kind of looked at? Any guys that I know it's early in the week and early on a Tuesday morning, a lot of Monday still is processing football and stuff like that. But any deep down the board guys? Svensson is probably not surprising for you to hear come out of my mouth, but Svensson's a guy that 110 is interesting to me here. Again, just can plot and loses on distance, but is great off the tee as far as like good drives gained and things like that. So he could put himself in position to get hot with the putter. That'd be a guy that I'd be considering if I was looking to take some bombs.
Yeah, and if you want a long number on a bomber, I gotta find what a number would be. 200-1 Ben Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
He hits the ball a long ways. He played well last week. I think he tied for 24th. Decent outlook. Didn't gain in putting. Didn't gain off the tee, which was odd. But his approach game was really good. So if the bombing comes into play and he's making it work off the tee and his approach game continues to be good, and the putting's a little better on the bent grass, he's a guy that could be in contention. Maybe he's another one of those where maybe a top 20, top 40 kind of play, but he's 200-1 or better at a few places. Don't know a ton about him, but just kind of digging in on this morning on him. He's been pro for a while. Like I thought he was younger, but yeah, Ben Griffin was someone who popped. I think that's probably it near the top. Got her up. If you want to go down that road, I think that one that's come and go, and people are done with that. Russell Knox isn't a huge number, but he's a guy I don't mind here.
Yeah,
I haven't played any of those.
That's a decent look here. Harry Hall. We don't see a lot of Harry Hall from England. He spends a lot of time on the DP World Tour and is done nothing that you would want to talk about so far this year in the Fortinet and Sanderson Farms. It has been nothing but putting. He's basically lost everywhere else, but familiar with this course, is a running rebel, and is familiar here, and actually T10 here last year. So again, that is not a sticky handicap. We're talking about a guy who is not playing good golf that just happened to play well here last year, that goes to school in the area. But that would be a long shot that's in like the 200 range. Maybe Harry Hall just has an affinity for this course. And again, 25-year-old kid, we just don't see a lot of. Going to be way off board. Probably won't even pop in most matchups for you to attack. But some names that I'd be looking to maybe to add live, if you can add finishing positions live, if he has a nice first round or something like that. So I haven't really got too deep in the weeds on the bombs.
Mm-hmm.
The Ben Griffin one I don't hate. I mean, he's been playing actually pretty decent of late, short-term form. So
yeah, Pendrith too, especially if you can get like 60 or better on Pendrith.
Yeah,
maybe that's probably my favorite longer one. So if I do add any bombs, they will be in the Discord, in the BetSports Golf Discord. You can get full access to all that for just $1 a month during the swing season. That goes up in January. So join us for the off season. It's not really off season. It's never off season. We're always betting golf. Hell, I even bet a little Prezzi's Cup. But yeah, bounce back week for me. I've got my formula. I had to go back and look at what was my formula for playing these. I had to go back and look what I did with Minneapolis and Detroit, and some of these were just everybody's going to constantly hit the greens. Nothing matters. How do we figure out how a putting contest fleshes out? Because I did okay at those tournaments. So yeah, I think I've got some good looks. I will have my matchup plays in the Discord again later on this week. By later on this week, I mean today or tomorrow, because golf starts on Thursday, although it is West Coast golf, which is nice. It's nice. Tee times for you East Coasters doesn't start till 10 in the morning. You get a little time, you can tinker with your DFS stuff. Speaking of that, 3 Eastern, Ron and Byron doing some DFS talk. They'll go over all the salaries, lineups, ideas for, how to stack up a lineup and put together a nice lineup. I just keep saying lineups. Looking at the salaries, figuring out, crunching the numbers, doing the work. Prestige Worldwide and BetSports Golf. And yeah, that's it. Check out betsportsgolf.com. Like I said, Ron's previews over there. That's in depth every week. That's on the site right now, and we'll have some more written content as we go. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, drop a thumbs up, subscribe if you aren't. If you're listening to this as a podcast, please rate and review. All that helps us out. Appreciate you guys joining us. And yeah, for me and Ryan, catch you next Tuesday. What is next week? CJ.
Yep.
CJ. Not in Japan or Korea anymore, is it?
No.
It's just constantly going to be here. So
it's ours.
All right. Yep. We have annexed the CJ Cup. We'll see you guys next week.